everybody, so we're gonna be going live in a quick second. Um, just getting everything set up here, so stay tuned. I'm here with Tyneille and Deva today, so we'll be jumping across just now. So hi again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Equilibrium Podcast. I'm your host again, Robert Yates. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube, so feel free to share it out to anybody you might be wanting to share. The topic today we're covering is child psychology and mental health, as it relates to like the Caribbean. So I'm here with Tyneille Graham and Deva Alleyne. There's some friends of mine from long time. So I mean, you guys could introduce yourselves. Probably a better introduction than me. But I know Tyneille does child psychology. Deva has dealt with mental health, and say hi, guys.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, we feel nervous.
Yeah, the feeling is nervous, even though it's like you're just talking to me, but
Right.
I guess you know that people are there too, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So who wants to talk first? This is the first one I'm doing with like two people at the same time, but we're gonna have to take some turns.
Well, I guess I'll talk about how this came to be.
Mm-hmm.
One morning I woke up, and when you wake up with a grand idea, and then as the day goes on, you're kind of like, maybe I don't want to. I don't know if I could cuss, and I might make a mistake.
Nah, go ahead.
But anyway.
You might slip up, but nobody's banning us.
Yeah. But basically, I spoke to Rob about possibly talking to him about my issues with anxiety mostly. And then I asked him, maybe he might want someone more professional. And he said, maybe we could bring up someone professional. And obviously, Tyneille knows all about the science of it.
Not all.
Well, a lot about it. She has a master's. And we figured it would be good to talk from a professional standpoint, and also someone who actually has experience going through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you two different perspectives.
And just made it more comfortable because we're all friends. The three of us, we've known each other for years, high school days.
That's right.
So we're hoping it'll just be a casual, comfortable
Tobago peeps conversation. Yeah, well, we're just chatting,
Pretty
but
much.
we're trying to cover some topics too because it's important to kind of discuss some topics as well.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
Definitely.
could you give me a little insight into what you studied? Because I knew you would have went abroad and studied. I just didn't know what it was until Deva kind of brought it up the other day.
Okay. I did my undergrad in psychology special, which is just psychology on psychology on psychology. And then I wanted to work with children, always have, and I was trying to find a way to link that, and then obviously child psychology. So I did my master's in Nottingham, England, and I graduated in 2018, and I came back and did some more voluntary work, some more training, and recently started my own business. As in very recently, as in right before lockdown. So it's hard, but yes, I have a little experience, a little knowledge on psychology and children.
And why do you think the field is important right now, especially? Because I know a lot of my friends, all our peers and stuff, have children, they're at home, um, not much structure with the school, people having to explore homeschooling options. Why do you think child psychology is important to engage?
I think anything to do with mental health is important right now, especially right here. I wouldn't just limit it to child psychology also. That was my passion and that's something I wanted to dive into.
Okay.
But I believe that just within the Caribbean, we could deal more with mental health issues and just understanding and acceptance of psychology and the entire field. I think could be respected more. I mean, we're getting there,
Yeah.
slowly but surely, but we're getting there.
Do you find it hard? Because, I mean, not a lot of people practice over here. I don't know of many people practicing. But do you find it hard, like, coming back with all that knowledge from, Nottingham and trying to, like, re-engage here? Like, what are some of the challenges you would see?
Yeah, 1,000%. It's just difficult because, like I said, I don't think it's very much accepted. I mean, it's only when I was like job hunting and searching, I realized there are clubs, there's organizations and support groups in mental health, but they're just not on the forefront as I thought it actually was.
Okay.
And I think there's still a long way to go, definitely.
Okay, so Deva, could you share like a bit? Sorry, again, a little feedback there. Could you share a bit of your personal challenges that you would have went through, like dealing with mental health in Tobago? I don't know what you feel free to share, but
Basically it all first happened like 7 years ago, and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And I will say that I had a very supportive mom and also friends, but ultimately it was my mom who really helped me through it. So I understand, like I can imagine how hard it would be if you didn't have the support of your family. But then I also know from my own experience how the stigma comes in, because I eventually had to go on medication for my anxiety, and still to this day I feel sometimes a little bit embarrassed to tell people that. So it's not just information that I would just tell anybody. I'd probably have to be super close to you or feel really comfortable with you to tell you, because I know that here, if you even utter the words mental health, they think you're crazy. So
there's an extremism to things, I find, like over here. Yeah.
And when really and truly we all go through our mental health challenges, so some people more than others. So every day is still kind of nerve-wracking and scary to tell people. Yeah.
But how did you find, like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, something that she said, where you said that everybody kind of goes through it. I think we're so used to having those down times that we don't know we're probably depressed. Or we're so used to having that buildup of anxiety and stress. We just like, oh, it's stress, and not
It's normal.
label it as anxiety. I'm not saying that, to diagnose everybody as depressed or stressed, but I think here, particularly in the Caribbean, we overlook those sorts of symptoms, and we're definitely not going to go and seek help for it at all.
You know what my sister's friend said the other day when we were talking about mental health by the pool the other day, and she was saying that America overdiagnoses, but we underdiagnose.
Okay.
And which is so true, because there's so many people walking around who are really struggling, and there's just no help for them.
Right.
And it's really sad. And when you asked her why talking about this at this time is important, I can tell you it's especially important because when I first found out that we were going into lockdown, it definitely raised my anxiety because for a lot of people, it's really important to have a purpose every day and a
Structure.
schedule
Yeah.
and routine. So for that to all blow up is petrifying. Petrifying is the thought of just being at home all day, especially if your home is not a great place. And I realized it's really a privilege to have a happy home and be excited to go home at the end of the day because a lot of people don't ever want to go home.
Right.
So yeah,
And I
it's
mean,
extra important.
community too. I feel like community is so important in that aspect. That's, I mean, this is the whole reason for sharing conversations and just, engaging with people more. I feel like we don't do that as much, and I don't know if social media has a lot to do with it, or just perceptions. How people, like, we like insular kind of lifestyles. We in our own little space, but I feel that connection is really necessary now.
Yeah, that's true. And we were again talking to our friend Talawa, a new friend, and he was saying that how he notices, because he's from Jamaica, but he notices that Tibetanians tend to keep to themselves and they're very quiet. No one really, we tend to have very surface level conversations, even people who have good friends.
Friendships, yeah.
They don't delve deep into their issues
Right.
at all. So everyone is so, I imagine, feeling so alone, but they might not feel alone because that's how it's always been for them.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just dealing with it. And I was trying to say earlier.
Go ahead.
I was watching the show. Even though it's just a show, it was very realistic to me. A million little things. And this guy, he was depressed and actually suicidal, to the point that it was suicidal. And he was seeing a counselor, and the counselor asked him if it ran in his family. So he said, he's not sure. So he went to his father. He didn't tell his father he was suicidal, but he was just like, Dad, well, I've been feeling really down. I guess he didn't want to tell him that he was, depressed, use that term, because I guess his father might have been dismissive. So he just was telling him, I've been feeling really down, very low, can't get out of bed kind of way. And his father was like, I mean, I get like that too. It's no way to complain about it. Like, we just carry on in life. It's what we do. And I find that so relevant to our community here in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago specifically. Everybody just assumes that is what happens, is part of life, but not that it's not, but it's something that we have to address and deal with.
And engage with, yeah.
Yeah, instead of just sweep it below the carpet or dismiss or,
Right.
shove it out the window.
Also, I think in previous generations, there's been anxiety and stuff since the beginning of time, I'm
Right.
sure,
Yeah.
but it's gotten progressively worse because we have more pressures nowadays, societal pressures.
Or assumed pressures, yeah.
Yeah, we're way more consumed by the television
Social
and
media.
and everything than the previous generation was. So they were more able to deal with their depression and anxiety than we are,
Like they had I feel like they had built-in coping mechanisms. For instance, like some of the ways I'm dealing with some of the anxiety of just being inside and stuff is, first off, you engage like structure. So one of the things was to do this podcast, and the fact that it's just a weekly thing, even though I missed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't imagine people not having something to look forward to.
And then also the farming, like gardening. That's one of the other things that I would have been doing.
Yeah, and that's how they spend their time, being outside all the time. They didn't have, the television to watch indoors all day or be on their iPad, and that's all that we do nowadays.
Yeah. It's hard to kind of disengage from those things.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think we should all just shut down social media for a month and just.
But it's funny, we have to have this conversation on social media. Like, this is live streaming on social media. So that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, what do you think some of the effects are of social media, especially for children growing up now? Like, I didn't grow up with social media. I would have grown up with email and them kind of thing. But
MSN.
but that was like later on.
Yeah, just joking. Definitely, I'm seeing a lot of self-esteem issues. I mean, even for us, our generation, we joined the social media wave late, but at the same time, it's still affecting us. So I can't imagine I was telling someone recently, I can't imagine being younger again, like 13, 14, growing up, learning myself, learning what I like, don't like, being that shy, skinny, scared of the world Tyneille again in the age of social media. When you grow up, you're just scrolling through your Instagram and everybody is perfect and everybody is rich and everybody is traveling the world.
There's
And
a
it's like,
comparison kind of thing. Yeah.
so I can't imagine. It's definitely stressful.
It affects us at this age. We're 27, 28. It affects us at this age, so I can only imagine how it affects 13-year-old girls.
Right.
You know?
And I mean, I guess the precursor to this would have been like magazines and newsprint and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So
True.
but now it's like so much more. It's like concentrated now.
Yeah. And we didn't have the kind of phones that they have now. So they have access we had dial-up. So we were probably on the internet for like 2 hours. They have access 24/7. You know what I mean? So that is constantly feeding inside of them. And everybody, even no matter where I go, if I'm traveling, if I'm just going to the beach, the same store bay, the same pigeon point I've been to 1,000 times, I have to like post that I'm there.
Yeah, she does.
But we made a conscious decision to stop doing that and more living in the moment.
That's true.
I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal experience with anxiety in depth because mine was very confusing for me. And I want to talk about it just in case someone's watching and is going through to something similar and doesn't really understand it.
Sure.
Because what we see about anxiety on TV doesn't always manifest in that way for everybody. And my anxiety didn't manifest in the typical way, I think. Like, I was very confused on what was happening and I thought I was going crazy and something was seriously wrong with me. And that's why they say anxiety and depression are all under the same umbrella, because I don't think I suffered too much from depression more than anyone else. Like, I had sadness here and there, but the anxiety made me depressed because I was sad that I was like that and had to live like that and had to figure out a new way of living. Right. But basically, my anxiety made me feel such a hostage to my mind, and I felt a really strong disconnect from the world, and the world around me seemed so gray, but in such a physical sense. It's so hard to describe. Like, I would be here but feel like I'm talking to Tyneille but feel very disconnected from her, and it's so weird to describe. And it was a really scary feeling until I started doing research, which was good and bad, obviously.
Google is,
because I did read some things saying, you're not crazy, this is anxiety. And once I understood that it was anxiety, it made me feel a bit better. But then when I delve deeper into the internet, you see a lot of horror stories and people actually going crazy who don't get the help and things like that. So yeah, I just want people to understand that depression and anxiety do not manifest in the same way for everyone.
I think that's important because life is about variety, I believe, truly. And that's why, it's important for you to share your perspective. Somebody else might be able to feel a connection with what you're saying.
You want to share how the symptoms you're having? Oh, sorry.
Like the disconnect and stuff.
Like, if you understand it, like looking back now, you understand it a little bit better. I
do understand it a lot better, but it's still something I feel like I would never fully get over. It was such a scary time. Let me tell you, I had to sleep. I was living in Trinidad at the time, going to school. I had to move back to Tobago. I was sleeping in my mom's bedroom, going to work with her. I was petrified. I was crying every day because I didn't know what was happening to me. And my mom took me to see a psychiatrist, and that word also scares me. I was embarrassed to tell people I'd see a psychiatrist.
Yeah, even your friends and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't find out till a while later.
Yeah, I was
while
fully
later, yeah.
fully embarrassed.
Mm.
Even though I didn't have like this major mental disorders like
But
schizophrenia or
there's a
something.
pressure that you
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah,
yeah.
psychiatry means you're crazy, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And basically, the doctor wanted to put me on anti-anxiety medication, and I was like so against it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want it at all because I was so young, I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to start anxiety medication at that age, and I was embarrassed to start them. And also with the, he warned me about side effects.
Right.
Like there are some sexual side effects, which I didn't really care about at the moment, but it's still something that you sort of have to deal with.
Mm.
But I eventually, because it got so bad and it wasn't getting better, I did decide to go on them. And I truly believe that it saved my life in a lot of ways. But I also believe that it has helped tremendously, but not fully. And I think a lot of people rely on their medication to help 100%, and that's just not the way it goes. You
Never.
have to do the other stuff. You have to
Yeah.
do whatever
It's a
helps you. I'm not saying you have
lifestyle.
to, yeah, I'm not saying you have to like meditate in the typical way and do yoga every day, but do what works for you.
Right.
And I've kind of found what works for me in terms of swimming, and I've gotten pretty religious and strict with my swimming because it's my form of meditation,
That's
you
good.
know?
That's good.
And I know if I don't do that every day, I can start slipping back into a bad place.
Wow.
So it's really important for you to, yes, have the medication there if you really truly need it,
Mm-hmm.
but also work on the other aspects that really, really help.
I feel like that's important what you just said. I mean, it's different for everybody. It's not something I guess you could cross the board advise. But like Tyneille might be able to give some more insight on like what you were going through and some of those stages. Like when did you find out about what she was doing with Tyneille?
It was somewhat late. I remember she messaged me while I was in Barbados and just asked me, what I thought about medication and stuff like that. And I'm still I'm doing undergrad psychology, which is very broad, so I don't really know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to research stuff myself, and then she kind of bit by bit opened up to me. But I definitely still saw the shame because every other message was, "Don't tell anyone, don't tell anyone." And but later on, I still think early 20s is, finding yourself age. So I think we all got comfortable with each other, and she was able to open up more. And even with this experience, it's even good and healthy for her because she's starting a conversation which will have a ripple effect that everybody else will see this and be like, you know what, I'm going through this too. I could talk about this openly and get away from the shame and the stigma. So it's all we transitioning into something great, I think.
You see that word you mentioned, shame, right? I mean, I find that pop up so much, shame and guilt, right? In our society and our culture. There's so much tied in. I don't know if that's a Caribbean thing, if it's maybe, I mean, other cultures would probably face shame and guilt for different reasons, maybe like more financial reasons and stuff. But I feel like over here, there's a lot of shame and guilt built in with just being yourself sometimes, and I feel like that's a very pressuring situation. I don't know if, like even for like in your childhood, when I would have been in primary school or high school, the fact that you're just even the fact that I look different, right? I wear glasses, I'm red skin. This whole thing of being red skin, I feel like that has a part to play in someone's mental health, and it might be trauma in a way, but you can't really pinpoint it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, it's. I don't even know where to start with this because that goes into self-esteem and it has a lot to do with our culture as a society. I did some when I was in England. I was a substitute teacher then, so I would go to primary schools and secondary schools and just cover classes. And when I tell you the culture in classes are so different, you step into a Caribbean class here and they stand up and they watch you and they're just waiting on instructions kind of, situation. I'm talking about here in Tobago.
Okay.
And you'll have one or two miserable ones. But the schools over there, some of them that I went to, everybody is miserable. And everybody is more or less, it was kind of weird to see everybody was more secure in themselves. I would compare it to the children here. And I was telling you about the article that, I was trying to develop and I was reading up on. It goes back to our religious beliefs and our culture, trying to be perfect beings.
Okay.
Everybody trying to have this perfection. It's a kind of competition somewhat with other parents, and because everybody is like, look at this one, look at that other one. Compare ourselves to our sisters' kids or brothers' kids. So everybody want to have the perfect set of children with the perfect manners and behavior, and you sit upright and they don't make a mess when they eat.
And that brings into question, what is one's definition or a culture's definition of perfect?
Exactly. You can't define that. You definitely can't define that. So yeah.
But I feel like that, I mean, it ties into so many different things, because I was going to bring up earlier, the anxiety that some people face might be linked to job security or a safe home or a relationship. But like, I was reading an article a while ago about places that survive on one industry in particular. Like, say for instance, there's a place that they do coal mining. The community, that's the whole community's purpose. For us, what that related to was like oil and gas, right? And that's what we're dependent on. That's what a lot of people are dependent on for, our stream of income. But when that disappears, what happens, you find in the communities, people turn to like drugs. They lose a sense of purpose now. And I feel like that has been going on here for quite some time, but you kind of can't really see it until it's extreme now.
Yeah. I think that I just lost my
That's all right, brain fat.
But as you mentioned, drugs and stuff, it makes me think about trauma. And we were talking about trauma in the group chat the other day, and saying that there's people have like extreme traumas, but it could be like the little things in our childhood that we carry with us through adulthood and are really traumatizing for a kid. As an adult, we look back on it and we don't think it was that traumatizing, but you were a kid then, and it is. And also, I think Trinidad and Tobago has so much substance abuse.
Substance abuse, okay.
Issues. And it's something to be really careful of, because I think what triggered my initial anxiety was I smoked some weed. And that really, it almost like opened Pandora's box from whatever I held tightly in my mind throughout my life,
Things you might even know were there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what drugs do. And that's why you have to be really careful with them, because it can bring out a lot of stuff that you might not be ready to deal with,
Yeah.
Well, and just remember what works for. I could smoke weed and be fine. I'm not saying that I do. My parents are watching. I could smoke weed and be fine.
You see the shame and guilt, yeah.
Deva could smoke weed and not be fine. And my thing is, just generally, why risk it?
Right.
Why risk?
You just gotta know yourself.
You have to know yourself.
What you want to do.
And that's a big peer pressure thing, because I have a couple of friends right now. Well, no, not you. No, I know you have stand up. Oh my God. I have a couple of friends who when I talk to about my anxiety, they're like, "Oh, just smoke some weed." And they just don't get it. They just don't get that it's not for everyone. And me smoking weed actually does the opposite. It doesn't calm my anxiety. It makes it much, much worse.
Right.
And I'm really happy. I'm really grateful at the end of the day that I had the experience I had, because I know myself more now. I know what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I think that's really critical for everyone to know that.
And I feel like certain substances, like they help you, like if you are guided, it can help you. But as you say,
Yeah.
knowing yourself, that's the greatest. Because like I like teas or I drink coffee on a regular basis. But if I realize, I'm having too much coffee and I'm feeling like a adrenal kind of burnout, I know myself enough to say, well, okay, slow down on the coffee and take a ease.
Exactly. Yeah, and I have nothing against weed whatsoever. I have a lot of friends who smoke a lot of weed,
Yeah.
and that doesn't bother me because I understand that it does something for
works.
people.
Benefits some people, yeah.
Helpful properties, but it's frustrating when people try and get you to smoke and ask you, "Oh, David, when would you try this again?" And it's like, well, I've told you over and over, it's just not for me, and I don't have the desire to do that. So this goes back into, not giving into the peer pressure of it, because that at the end of the day, that person pressuring you is not going to go through what you're going to go through.
No.
Right.
That's why I said what works for you might not work for somebody else. What works for somebody else might not work for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think that's important, like trusting yourself enough to say, well, it's not like the classic thing where, oh, say no to drugs, like right through. You just have to trust yourself enough, I guess, to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I would have went through something similar, Deva, with marijuana, and
Yeah.
I found that dependency on the substance after a while, and it took like a proper mental breakdown for me to realize, well, yeah, you need to give it a ease. And since then, I've been off weed in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand the certain substances too, THC and CBD and these kind of things. Because right now, I find CBD helps a lot with dealing with anxiety for me,
yeah, I heard about the oil
Yeah.
and
that doesn't, I actually don't like the psychoactive effects of THC. That it kind of gets me in a very
Yeah.
kind of spiral now.
Yeah.
I don't get much done. Well, I don't get much done, but some people find
Yeah.
it helpful.
Yeah. Some people find the opposite,
Yeah.
So
And-
yeah, it's really what works for you.
And that just goes to show, I mean, everybody's different. The variety in people, you can't really prescribe something across the board. I think that's where the dangers lie now.
Yeah. And I mean, me and you, we cannot deny the positive effects that CBD has and those things have. But it's all in how you use it. If
That's
you're
right.
using weed to just get high and escape, because a lot of people do that, when you're not sober, you don't have to think about your life, but if you use it in the right way for its medicinal purposes, then it can be really beneficial to you.
One of the things I was looking into recently is actually juicing, juicing the leaves. And that has a lot of good effects without the psychoactive. So for people who are growing and stuff. But anyway, this is not a marijuana blog, right?
I'm not here real uncomfortable. I'm not
I think I want to return back to like parenting, right? So one of the questions, that's why I have the questions, to return back to. What do you think some of the things in your early life, like in any child's early life, that can have some stressful effects on them and lead to problems later on? What are some of the things?
One of the early things I would definitely say is relationships with your parents. That has such a big impact on who you more or less become. I'm not saying you're going to have your parents' personality, but just a relationship with them. Kind of, I don't want to say this word, but I can't think of anything. It almost sets the blueprint.
Okay.
Then, because how you are able to converse with one of the first persons you actually meet in your life is what? Your mother or your
Parents
father.
or your community, yeah.
Right. Stay in your life and you have that continuous relationship. You will go on to meet other people and you'll know how to talk to them, how to relate to them and stuff like that. And I mean, so not psychology. Why am I fumbling on my words? I'm sorry. subconscious, deep down, there's a relationship there within your parents that you could find in everyday life with other people based on how you were raised, the way your parents spoke to you. It might come back. I am finding a lot of my mother in myself.
Right.
I can't see the message of that thing. I'm joking, but I'm seeing it now that I'm older. And that's why you ever watch one of those shows and they're sitting on the couch and it's like, how was your relationship with your mother growing up? One of the questions the therapist will ask the client. So that's definitely something. And I was looking at how parents here treat their children, just in comparison to children, mother, daughter, father, son relationship in foreign countries. And here we are a little bit more cold. We're breaking out of that. A little bit more cool. We're breaking out of that. But we tend to treat children like tiny adults.
I've heard that before. Right, I've heard that before.
Yeah, we could be a little bit more loving, a little bit more cuddling, and talk to them like children.
They need to have a childhood. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
I've noticed over the past, I would say, year that generational trauma is such a real thing. And you really pass down your issues to your kids without even noticing it. And sometimes if I'm out in public in the grocery store, or one time I was on the plane and this little kid was really excited to be on the plane, like so excited, and her mom was just telling her to shut up. And I was really sad for that girl, because she's just happy trying to express herself.
That energy.
Telling her to shut up, And I was angry at the mom, but I also felt sorry for her because it was so obvious that she had come from that type of parent, So I really think that it's our responsibility to heal ourselves in our trauma that we were passed down to us. So that we don't pass it down to the next generation, because this world doesn't need any more
traumas.
Beatings.
We don't need it to go down to another generation back from our ancestors,
I always joke to people, like I tell people I'm trying to evolve, and I drink teas. I drink moringa tea and stuff because of that, because I feel like it's literally at a cellular level. Of course, the mental work is as well good, people who meditate and just people who are in touch with themselves, because really and truly that's what one of my main goals in life is, to just try to, at some point, I know my family particularly, what I went through. I know every family goes through some stress, but we're not so transparent with it now. But there seems to me, for me, I feel a certain disconnection with my family, right? And I think a lot of them do feel that as well. But that's one of the things I want to try to change. So by connecting with others, it's not only family. When people say family, right, they often think, well, only blood.
Yeah.
And I've seen in certain tribes and stuff, people who grow up within a community, like how they say in Tobago, it takes a village to raise a child. That's a common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I really believe is so important, especially for a small population, a small island.
I think so too. Yeah.
And just the Caribbean on a whole, I feel like there's so much connection that has to be made now. That's just not. Go ahead.
No one wants to do that anymore. You are not allowed to punish another person's kid, which is fine. But I do see the benefits in the village coming together to raise this kid, because at the end of the day, that kid could grow up to run your community, and that kid is a part of everybody, I don't know
yeah, like Tyneille, you're now starting your consulting thing, but you might be the biggest thing in the next 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you were brought up and who you are around.
Yeah, I always feel like I want to give back to Tobago so much, you know? I mean, if things was different, I would give free therapy, free
Right?
consultancy to everybody, but I mean,
Survival is a thing. Everybody had to eat. You know, that's the whole
yeah,
catch.
they eat, you know? So that's that. But yeah, it takes a village. I'm very proud. I'm very, very grateful. I have some family watching here. I know that for sure. And if not, they'll watch this video after I'll meet them. But I am extremely grateful for my family, my cousins, and my aunts and uncles. We are way too close, and I appreciate them so much. We don't talk every day, but I
You don't
know,
need to.
yeah. And we
Yeah,
don't even talk
that's the
every day.
thing. With
But
good friends, with family, you don't need to talk every day. Yeah.
we don't talk. But you know
But
something?
you know it's there.
The support that I get from them is just so amazing. And I want everybody to experience that, you know, if I could just share that. And I'm so proud and I want to do proud by them just for the support.
I feel like some of them in the
Even though
comments,
not so much.
some of them in the comments right now, I believe. I seeing your brother here, Tyler. I'm seeing some new faces: Grace James, Kazel Campbell.
Hi, Castle.
Yeah. So he's saying, yeah, Rosemary calms me when I think about my situations in life. I don't know. So he might be using rosemary as a herb now. I see in Cordell.
Oh, that's my cousin.
Right. So boom. Yeah.
One of my families on here. I would say Neil has a big biological family.
Right.
And I mean, I have family, but I'm really not close to them besides my immediate family. Like, I was really close to my mom.
Right.
And, you know, my sister and brother, we're still building that. But my friends are truly like my
Your family.
Literally. And I was telling Hannah the other day that she was asking me, like, what do I want out of life? And I was saying, I really just want good relationships with people, you know, not necessarily intimate relationships,
Right.
but just relationships all around, and not even like close friends, but just having a bond with someone is, I think, so important to get us through life.
It's rewarding.
Yeah.
And you learn so much from other people. That's how we learn, is talking to other people and learning about other people's experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful to have this group of girls.
Shout out to the girls.
I take my friendships very seriously.
We are annoyingly close. It's honestly, even though we live in separate houses, it's like having sisters. It's hi guys.
But ultimately, it's the most important thing in my life. You know.
So I mean, like, okay, not to be the devil's advocate, but I feel like there are people who don't have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That foundation and that structure.
Very sad.
Yeah. You can't force people to be friends or get close to other people. There are people who genuinely love being alone. You know, that lone wolf, and they thrive off that. They do better by themselves than with other people, and that's amazingly fine. And then there's other people who want that close knitness with, you know, with a group to find their own, you know, non-blood relatives. And you can't really tell them, oh, well, go and find. It's not easy to do, but that's something that they would have to work on with themselves and try to slowly build relationships and put themselves out there, reach out.
I think sometimes it comes down to a self-love issue, because if you don't love yourself, you're never going to think that another person's going to love you. So you're never going to become vulnerable with a person.
Interesting.
To be able to become close, because you cannot become close with someone the way me and Tyneille are close if you are not open about who you are, truly who you are.
I would agree and disagree with that. Let me tell you why I will disagree first. The thing about it is, our friendship, Deva's, our friendship, we met when we were in like first form, second form.
Okay.
So we built that from years ago. This is going on almost 20 years, going up to 20 years of friendship.
So there's a trust with that.
Yeah. You know, so we were able to, I didn't love myself back then, I could tell you that. And I know she didn't love herself back then either. You didn't.
Well, in a different way, sometimes in a different way.
Right.
That
But we had each other for that support, and we built that. And then through that, we were able to, find ourselves separately and still together as friends, as well as with Tyneille and Chantel and Chloe Dale, everybody. We still have that close-knitness. I think with people, there are some people who I've met and they said, they admire our group that we were able to get that close.
Yeah.
But they don't have that. They don't know how to continue a friendship. It's like after high school, bye. After college, bye. And you reach yourself in adulthood and you're lonely. So what do you tell somebody who's comfortable in themselves? They have that self-love, but they just don't know how to form new friendships. To form that new family. It's about, somewhat with themselves. I wouldn't say it's lack of self-love. I think it comes down to loneliness and just wanting companionship, whether it's romantic or not. It could be all. I could see that. Yeah, all different forms of it.
I believe that there's someone out there for everyone, and I'm not talking in intimate relation term. If I can find a close friend who's similar to me, who has a similar interests, someone else must have that person out there. They must.
Yeah.
I get that it's hard sometimes, and having a friendship is a lot of work. And like she said, some people like their aloneness and don't want to put in the work to maintain a friendship. So, and also you get very, what do you call it? You get very comfortable in your loneliness. This is my way of life. I can't see myself putting forth effort to have a relationship with someone because my life is working for me the way it is right now. But I believe that ultimately having a friendship, at least one, is the most important thing that you can have.
True. Well, right now you're having some loud love in the comments. Tyneille's mom is saying you're my daughter too, Deva. Family is more than blood. So.
But actually, me and Tyneille are family, and no one believes us.
Yeah.
You see?
Pumpkin fine, but we don't care.
You understand? But it's like, friendships, right? I find it's hard to sometimes maintain, as you say, because you can have like the best friendship at one point, and then after a while it might die down, or it takes stages and turns. I find, depending on what your interests are, what changes you're going through.
Yeah.
The only thing I could say, because I'm battling that right now. I've met so much great people when I was in England. So much great people, and obviously I'm not there with them on a daily basis. And I find myself like losing them. We still talk time to time, but it's just like, oh my gosh, I miss my friends. No, they're slipping through my fingers, and they want to keep that relationship. But you can't keep messaging them. Hi, what you doing today? Okay. What you ate today? Okay. And the next day the same thing.
Yeah.
I was telling you recently, it also comes in stages and seasons. So that could have just been my season time with them. When I was in UWI, I had friends I'm no longer close with, and that was my season with them as well. And that's okay to let go, but I know I'm going to find more people as I get older, and that would be a new season. I'll be excited to explore that too.
Tyneille is a lot better with that than I am. I have my one group of friends who I've been friends with forever, and as much as I love my friends, the relationships sometimes bring me a lot of anxiety again, because if I feel like just for example, if I feel like me and Tyneille aren't talking as much and our relationship is kind of slipping, I feel so awful.
So it's linked.
I never want my friendships to slip away, and sometimes I hold on to them to dear life, and sometimes it's people that I should let go of, but my anxiety is like, you are holding on to this person no matter how much it's hurting you.
That's interesting. So that's one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you. Like, grief, because I know right now, you're dealing with some grief as well, and that is, I feel like it's tied to anxiety in a way,
Yeah.
and people and holding on to people and this kind of thing. But how would you advise somebody dealing with grief or anxiety? Because there's other people right now probably dealing with that.
I can't give advice on that.
Okay.
Let me tell you, it was a very big test on letting go, but also it wasn't my choice to let go. I had no choice but to let go, you know? Um, so yeah, I truly don't know what to say, because as you say, I'm still in the midst of it. And
Can I say something based on my observation?
Mm.
I felt as though Deva was more, with her anxiety, she was more anxious of the when and what going to happen after. So that period before that happened, it was like I didn't recognize her. It was so much anxiousness built up inside of her. I mean, it was different. It was very different to view. But the moment, her mom passed, she wasn't sad, or like, obviously she was sad, but I mean she was calm because it happened. And she just, there was nothing to be anxious anymore about. So I think it was just very, really interesting, and I was happy for her because everything that she was scared of happening didn't happen, and she's fine, and she's here now, and we're laughing and having a good time.
yeah,
So,
it's still very hard, but I truly, if I'm being totally honest, I really thought that when my mom died, I was gonna die because I couldn't. There's no way I could live on this planet without my mom. There was no way. I really thought that I was gonna. I was scared. I was scared of what I was going to do to myself. But as you say, it didn't happen, and I'm really grateful. I actually made a conscious decision to allow myself to see what else is in store for me. And that was a really freeing feeling to want that and choose to continue on and move forward to see what else is out there for me.
I feel like the fantasy, like what people have in their head sometimes of what may happen, or
yeah, that what if factor.
that is greater
that's
than
what
the
anxiety is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Often it's greater than the reality of things.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see that in the moment,
Life
of
is a
course.
scary place,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard to see that in the moment. So, I mean, could you go through some of the feelings that you might have experienced, or maybe still experiencing, just so people could get to know who might be feeling that?
Yeah. God, so much. I think so the last 2 months of my mom's life were the hardest for me because I got in a place of desperation where I would do absolutely anything to keep my mom alive. And she was kind of winding down in her journey on this earth. She was really ready to move on. And I was not ready. Very selfishly, I was not ready. I didn't care. She was going to live, and I didn't care if she wanted to. I didn't want to.
Literally, that's what happened.
Yeah, so it was a tug of war a lot, and also with my family because they were more accepting of what was inevitably going to happen, and I was not accepting of it until like a couple days before she passed, where I had no choice and I realized what she was actually going through. And at that point, I wanted her to go because I didn't want her to live the way she was living. So when I thought like that, it brought me a lot of peace, and I was just very comforting to her, telling her it's okay. And I think that it really allowed her to go peacefully, knowing that I was okay with it and I would be okay. And then afterwards, people always say, she's in a better place now. she's no longer in pain. And it's like, well, how do you know that? What if she's having a hard time where she is? And I just felt so worried about her, that she wasn't in a good place, because I had no idea what was happening. And I also felt like, oh my God, she's new there. She's like the new girl. So what if she doesn't fit in? What if she doesn't have any friends? What if they don't like her there,
Right. The
So
uncertainty, yeah.
Yeah, but I've slowly kind of moved on from that, and just trying to accept that she had a great life. I feel very grateful to have had her in my life for my 28 years. And I don't know, then now we're here and we'll see how things go.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. That I know that must be hard to just do that.
Thanks for the love, Stephanie and Cassell and Melissa.
Yeah,
just seeing the comments.
I'm glad you all seen the comments. Yeah, there's a lot of support in the comments right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, is there anything like, so I mean, I feel like this whole conversation is about parenting, mental health, grief on a level, but is there anything you could add, Tyneille, to Caribbean parenting? That's one of the things you said you wanted to kind of engage a bit, and being more warm. Or so, do you feel we have a problem right now?
Yes or no. I mean, I don't know everybody. It's just based on my personal observation. My observation isn't wrong. I know what I've seen. And we could be a lot more loving towards children, and try to think of things from their perspective. We try to rush them to grow up too fast, and we expose them to too much. And it doesn't mean that's a evil thing, but I mean, like, let kids be kids. Let them run around. Let them play. Let them ask questions. Let them be curious. But here we just still trying to keep this whole perfection vibe going, and not working out, because all they're doing is stressing yourself out, stressing the child out, and then there's going to be, lifelong trauma for that. I admire, like I said, I look up to my cousins a lot. I admire my cousins so much, because they have, like, their kids now who's 3 and 4, and they are so adorable and they're so loving towards them, and I want to be like that. And I wish everybody else could be, talk to the children like that, instead of shouting at them, like the example that Deva gave. And I've seen similar things like that. There was this lady, same plain example, holding her baby. The baby could not have been more than 1. And the little pockets at, the seat in front of you have the little, what do you call it? Coupons, the little brochures, and what to do in case of an emergency, that thing. So the baby's grabbing at it and, putting it in his mouth. And she's just like, don't touch it, and screaming at this child on the plane. And as it's a 1-year-old, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he grabs it again, and she hits him so hard. And I was like, I told you not to touch it, and look at you now. And like all that roughness, for what? So the entire 20 minutes, let me tell you, that child cried for 20 minutes straight, from takeoff to landing. It was very uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, give him a different toy, distract him. There's so much other ways. You don't have to be rough and angry with a child all the time.
I have a question. How do you, no.
You guys, sorry, just to interrupt. You guys right now are stuck. I don't know if you could turn off your video and turn it back on. And also, just to engage people in the comments, you guys could go ahead and ask questions. Talk to the girls. I think.
I wanted to ask Tyneille, say someone has generational trauma passed down to them from their parents and grandparents, and they've had kids quite young, and now their kid is, say, 3 years old and wants to do things differently. How do you heal that generational trauma within yourself so that you can raise your kid properly? If you've already had the kids, so you have the added stress of not being able to just focus on yourself.
Well, it's first firstly, they have to know that they have a problem, like you said, they admit it, and they have to seek counseling. You could go to any family therapist. There's here, right here in Tobago. You could see counselors, child psychologists, and you need to deal with that trauma first. You can't fix somebody without fixing yourself, I would say first. You have to sort that out and ask yourself why you do the things that you do. And a lot of things gonna come out of that that would be very uncomfortable. And you could stop yourself. You have a 3 year, you don't need to continue the treatment, I would say, that negative behavior towards that 3 year anymore. And who knows, that child from 4 years old forward will only remember good things, and hopefully from that. So that's why I would say it'll have to be through counseling. You can't, wake up and deal with it.
And I mean, also it's like, because sometimes these problems are not only like on an individual sense. It might be a family or a culture. And there's a lot of pressure when you're trying to, I guess, go against the grain is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
How does one deal with that, especially as a child? Because I mean, if you're going against the grain, like recycling, let's engage that as a topic, or not littering, and everybody else, well, they throw in the garbage here and throw in the garbage there, but you're the one different person, like the black sheep, what they call. That's a lot of pressure,
It's a lot of pressure, but the thing about it is that you can't think about what everybody else doing. And I'm not saying that is easy. Focus on your mission and your goal. If you're gonna get angry because everybody else is littering, you're just going to reach that point where you're going to say, you know what? If everybody is doing it, why should I care? Why should I make a difference? But your little straw paper might be the one that kills a bird, that might kill a turtle, that might kill a shark, and the whole. So just focus on your journey. And the same thing with parents. Why you particularly could make a change? The change starts with you. It ends with you. The generational curse ends with you. So make that change and focus on your mission. Don't look left. Don't look left. Don't look right. Focus on what you have in front of you and let that be a goal only.
So just, you would advise to have like not a tunnel vision, but because I mean, I would imagine that has a lot to do with even corruption on certain levels too.
100%.
Not to engage with that political topic too much, but it's like what you let slide or what your community let slide.
Ultimately, be the death of everything.
Basically.
So it's the individual actions and like the individual parenting actions.
And you never know who's watching you. So if I'm minding my business and I'm actually picking up paper from the floor, somebody will be like, it doesn't make sense. All this garbage is here, and one person might do it. And you might not even realize you're influencing somebody else. You know what I mean? And
True.
Just by minding your own business, you could make a difference for the world.
So what are some advice you could share with new parents? In this,
educate yourself 100%. I am very structured. I set goals. So I would this is the kind of person I want to be, and I will work towards that, And I think that people could structure that for their life too. It's not a bad thing or a hard thing. You don't have to share it with the world. It's not putting up a Facebook status or tweeting about it. Decide who you want to be, the kind of mother, the kind of guardian, and make sure it's a good thing, and work towards that. Take your time
and make every decision with that in mind.
And don't be too hard on yourself, especially.
Okay.
And
I think there's a lot of parent guilt.
Right.
When you see your kid acting out, you feel guilty because you feel like this is my fault. My child is this way because I did something wrong. But that's not always the case, because at the end of the day, I think that parents are not just parents. Parents are human beings, just like us. That kid is not
as well as
of their life.
Yeah.
And we all throughout our lives, we're going to be working on things within ourselves.
Mhm.
And sometimes we're not going to be the best parent,
No.
but you just try your best every day. Try and be better the next day, but
Yeah.
don't feel guilty about it, because the guilt is not going to help the situation at all.
I feel like vulnerability is important in some way, you know, like showing that, you know, you as well face challenges and how you may move through them.
Yeah. Someone said that parents are afraid of. Somebody said that parents are afraid of failure, which is true. A lot, probably all parents don't want to do wrong by the children or don't want to be seen as a bad parent. That I believe is 100% true. But like I said, you have to block out the noise, and we are too focused on what other people perceive us than what we should be focusing on. I shouldn't be thinking of what Deva or Rob or Chantal thinks about my child or how my parenting style is when I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'm not hurting them. I mean, feel free to take advice. And I mean, if I'm doing something that Deva thinks is harmful, I should be open to what she has to say, but that should not be my obsession. That should not be how I dictate how I raise my child. So I wouldn't be like, oh gosh, Deva hate it when I make them run around outside barefoot. So I have to put that. No.
I feel like that's how I'm going to be.
I'm just not going to take you on. So that's how I have to be. You have to.
You also have another question in the comments there from Kazel. Do you believe that individuals search for attention or connection they lack at home in their friends?
Yeah.
Right.
100%. Based on like we were speaking a bit earlier about, your home life, your childhood kind of sets the blueprint for what happens in your adult life. That's why psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists go back to your childhood to find out what happened there. You see it in movies and TV shows all the time.
And ultimately, every single person in this world wants to feel loved. So if you haven't felt loved growing up, you will search for that till the day you die until you find it. And oftentimes it's in unhealthy places, because it's like instant gratification in unhealthy places. But it's okay to look for love outside of the home if you're not getting it at home. But you have to be aware of exactly what type of love you're receiving.
Right. The quality,
because some love is wrapped in a pretty package, but when you open it, it's a snake or frog jumping out at you,
Yeah. It might be exploitive in many instances, because I would imagine,
you have to be careful out there.
People have like gangs. Like I remember hearing, when you don't find that connection with your family, they would seek a gang, some form of gang. It could be whether it be a criminal element, or it might be even just police. You might be
because it is a family in its own.
You might be a part of a farming community. So I guess it depends on what type of community you seek out.
Yeah, but also don't give up on finding love outside, because you will find shitty people out there who are giving you like I don't want to say fake sort of love, but love wrapped in an ugly package. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible to find genuine people in your life who actually do love you.
Good to know. So, I mean, we reached the hour mark in the convo. I try not to keep she's like, whoa. I mean, if there's anything else you want to add, if there's anywhere people could reach you, I want to pull up Tyneille's Instagram page so people could get a chance to see it here.
You can reach me on Instagram, or you can call me 463-0716.
She doesn't even know her number.
It's new. So I think Rob could put that up so I could send you the number.
I could. What is it? I'll put it in the comments.
If anybody is feeling bad.
What's the number?
463
Yeah.
0716.
0716. All right. So I'm putting it in the comments so people could get in touch with you.
Awesome stuff.
There's also your Instagram page, and anybody feel free to message Deva as well. I guess you could contact her through Tyneille. You know, I don't want to.
No, you could just go my Instagram and someone can message me if they feel like it.
All right.
If
Cool.
somebody's going through what, she discussed about, that'd be nice to talk to somebody about it.
So,
But yeah, I really do want to say one thing.
yeah,
though.
yeah.
I really appreciate everybody saying hi. Tyler, Cordell, Cassell, Chantel, Katrina, who else? Wooly,
Grace James. Grace.
Grace.
Who is Grace?
I don't know.
And look, Sherman, yeah, that family is there. So yeah, just everybody, we are really grateful. Thank you for
Nikilia. So yeah.
It was great.
Thank you
Rob.
so much.
It was really good.
It was really nice.
I'm glad.
Nothing to be nervous about.
I'm glad I could give you guys a space to chat, and share your personal experience. You're getting a hi from Samika right now, Deva. So,
Who?
Samika,
Oh, hi, Samika.
Nikilia.
Nikilia. You see, I feel like people just want to lime, and
Yeah. I think so.
there's a lot of hurdles I feel like get in the way of it now. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm happy and I hope people got something out of this and
Definitely.
feel better afterwards.
yeah, and it's important to share like any kind of troubles you're going through with, I guess, your friends, supportive friends, because that's the whole thing. I mean, you can't have people who are just, they might exploit that weakness. But if you have a group of supportive friends that support you, I feel that's really good. So I'm glad you could do that.
Platforms platforms like this.
Yeah, I mean, hey, feel free to create your own stream, jump on Instagram.
Platforms like this make it so much easier. It's starting a conversation. Rob. Good on you.
Yeah, I'm
Well
proud
done.
of you for doing
Yeah.
this. It's a
Cool
good
vibes.
idea.
Yeah.
Cool vibes. Small scale, but right now I think you had like 30 viewers. I know y'all didn't want to know the viewership because like the nervousness and stuff like that too. But yeah, anybody else who wants to reach out in the future, I'm trying to do some more. I noticed a lot of these streams were going in the direction of mental health, and I think it's important. But as I said, the community is open for anything. Trying to get into a lot of gardening as well too, because these are ways of coping as well. Gardening, sport, as you say, swimming. What's that?
Yeah, it would be good.
Yeah, if you have any recommendations, anybody, just send them to Equilibrium Media. You should see links there, and yeah, hopefully we'll have some new subscribers, some new conversation in the future.
Yeah, Cassell wants to go on.
Yeah.
He'll be a good chat. He likes
Yeah,
to chat.
I've seen him in the comments. Yeah, he's going ham on the comments.
Yeah, he's a chatty one, that Cassell. I would love that episode.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
It doesn't even have to be themed. Just have him on.
Just
and
have him
then
to talk, right? Vibes. Well, I might have some of those too. Yeah.
Thank you.
No probs. You guys are welcome. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And
Hit me up when you have some kombucha, please.
yeah, I have to set a new batch. I just set some some seaweed fertilizer, and I'm gonna set some kombucha too one time.
Nice.
So peace. Talk to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
What are you
What are you doing?
doing? Rock?
Just hang up.